Sure.
Thank you, Linda, for taking my call. And so this is Linda McAlister
Mm.
with Linda McAlister Talent. Just introduce yourself real quick, and then we're going to double back on what we were talking about right before we started, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. I'm Linda McAlister Talent. I've been an agent since November 1994.
Oh,
In
wow.
January 2000 in Texas, and in January 2011, I opened my office in Los Angeles. So I'm now
Oh, yeah.
bi-coastal and doing very well in both areas, and I'm very, very proud of that. So
I'm super
yes.
proud, and you represented me early on in my career too, and I'm very, very thankful. You got me out to New York on a couple of things for. I think I went out there for Olive Garden. I was kind of all over the place running around for you. It was a lot of
Were
fun.
you
I appreciate
and
you having faith in me early on.
You're very welcome.
Oh, you're
Very
sweet.
welcome. It was a pleasure, and it's still a pleasure to catch up with you.
Thank
Always a
you.
friend.
Yay, I
Right.
love that. So really quickly, let me double back to kind of we were talking about the world of TikTok and kind of improv and then how important training is with scripts and dialogue and things that a writer, hands you and
Mhm.
getting into their mind as opposed to creating your own character and kind of going on whatever it is that you feel, and how that's not as easy as a lot of people think. And there's training that's required to that, and you were about to say some things about the TikTok world, I think, and stuff.
Yes, I get a lot of submissions for social media influencers, and I'm not impressed. Uh, I I have worked very hard along with other industry professionals. Our unions have worked very hard to establish the fact that we're representing professional talent. This is not an expensive hobby. It requires training, experience. It's difficult enough getting an agent. So I'm a little frustrated with the social media movement of all of a sudden it's like, yay, just do something on TikTok or social media, become an influencer, and yes, the world will come, you know, falling at your
Yeah,
feet. I don't like that. And I don't trust that situation because this is a profession. This is not something everyone can do. I totally encourage my talent to seek all kinds of training, whether it's scene study, audition skills, uh, improv is
right,
amazing. Stand-up comedians, there's the reason why they can segue into this business.
right,
That's not TikTok.
right,
So, I don't want to demean this industry by allowing the social media influencers to think that they can just step into it
right.
without verification and validation. I want training. We, after pounding the heads of these poor actors into saying, spending all this money on professional headshots, get
Right.
into classes, do your proper due diligence.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden the whole world is open up to this industry. No, I'm
Right.
not going to accept that. And I'm not old school. I am old school enough to want the standards and the basics. We have to have a great foundation for this industry. We can't just allow the floodgates to open and think that everyone has a place in this. Because as you know, if you've ever seen actors on any kind of independent film, feature film, acting is so subjective. You can see what some people perceive as being an excellent actor that is award
Right.
quality acting and should get an Oscar, to where sometimes I'm looking at it and I'm like,
You're right. Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
don't see that. What is so subjective?
Yeah.
And so for anyone to think because good actors, professional actors, well-trained actors, the best actors make it look easy.
Right.
That's the point.
Yeah.
It's supposed to look like this natural conversation between people or a group, or
Right.
kind of like what you and I are
Yeah.
doing. We're not doing scripted dialogue here at all. This is very much off the top of our heads and spontaneous in the moment. That's not easy for actors to do, and
No.
it's offensive to me to think that other people think they can just walk into it, do their own little thing, and that's what the industry wants.
Right.
We are hired, actors are hired by professionals that have put a lot of money
Right.
into writing, producing, directing.
Mhm.
This is not a one person's vision. You're hired as an actor as part of a team to relay that vision,
Right.
to bring that vision to life.
Yeah.
And so that is what is required. It's not just whatever you can do on social media to get your next 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't want anyone to think they can reach out to agents. Now, some agents may be wanting that. That's
Right.
fine. I'm speaking for myself. I want professional actors that can read a script, and that can bring that character to life and can listen and take direction
Yeah,
and do what is required of them, not what they think they need to do
that's a great
to,
point.
bring
Yeah,
something. So
yeah,
yeah.
that's a really great point. Give me a quick. We're back. I told myself I wasn't gonna jump in as much as I have been on the other ones. There was so much I wanted to jump in on and say, but I think that's a fantastic point in terms of from an actor about how about how it's subjective. It absolutely is subjective, and that's where you can get lost in you can get disillusioned and get lost in all these types of things. But with maturity or with experience or just with general understanding, you realize that in the audition room, not everybody is going to like you. That doesn't mean you're not a good actor, but that's why you continue to train and try to be as real as possible. I wanted to ask you, what led you to decide to join the panel of agents for this workshop that's coming up, the 2121 Tips from the Pros workshop?
Well, I'm always honored to be invited, but I think each of us have unique conversations and unique thoughts and information to present.
Mhm.
All agents run their agencies differently. Casting directors run their offices differently. We all can provide different insight into what this industry wants, because again, this industry is very subjective. When I get a breakdown, when I submit talent for a film, TV commercial project or any project, casting may say, I wonder why she submitted that person, or casting may say, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I love what she submitted. I would never have thought of that. So sometimes we're not always going to agree, but that's the point. That's why we all have to have a unique perspective. I don't ever want to belong to an agency panel and everybody just agrees.
Right,
It's
exactly.
like, well, oh yeah, that's what I do. I think it's more productive and more informative to actors in this industry to have different perspectives
Right.
and different, approaches. And what I'm going to do in my office, and everything I say is only for me. I'm not speaking for any other agent or manager or casting director in this industry. I'm speaking strictly for my own self and my agency. But when I say is going to relate to me, I want to hear what other agents do, because I get some, great insight from,
Right.
their
Yeah.
perspective too.
That's
So,
that's
and
awesome.
actors should glean everything that we say and stop getting confused about, oh my gosh, well, I've been to every casting director has a different point. And I'm like, yes. And that's why you listen to what every casting director wants in your audition self tape or your live audition, because they each have a different way of doing your job. So we should, it's not a cookie cutter industry at all. It's creative.
Again, I love talking to y'all, because one of the things that I am mentioned to the people that I talk to is that I always encourage people to go to multiple coaches, always, since the beginning. And I've even run into the other coaches in town that have said, hey, thank you for sending this person over. And the reason I tell them that is because I think it's important for them to get, like you just said, different points of view, because I did that in the beginning. And what ended up happening, and this is kind of what I'm going to end on and then we'll go on, is that you take everything that you hear. If you do it, if you process it and you apply it, it might work, it might not work. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you find something that works for you based off of you. And the best thing is for it to bring out the best in you, to get you to help you to feel confident and relaxed and sort of know when to go where for what. And then you go into that casting room and you give them what you've got. The other thing I've also learned after being in it for this long is that you never stop learning, because things constantly change and adjust. And like you said, one casting director might say one thing or the other. At some point, if something's not working, you got to readjust. I mean, it's just like with life. So that's why I
Oh,
was.
absolutely. Well, and you can somebody will send an audition in and they're like, and we may not like it, but their acting coach directed them that way. And their friends said, oh, it looks great. And we're like, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah. And and what we think isn't good, the casting director may love it. So
Yeah.
if it's not just horrible, we might go ahead and submit it. If it's to us horrible, and obviously we're not going to submit it, and we will tell the actor.
Yeah.
But we may reach out to casting to say, look, we didn't submit this video. The actor is really good, but they just really weren't as prepared as we wanted, or maybe didn't read all the information. We might email them the video, and sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, that's fine, we'll go ahead and upload it. Or
Isn't
they're
that
like, yeah, That's a good idea. Glad you didn't submit
Yeah,
it because the
yeah,
studio would have seen it too. And
yeah,
yeah, so
yeah,
our job is also to protect the
yeah,
actor. A
yeah.
bad audition is not better than no
Yeah,
audition.
and that's the one I think risk of like self-submission and things like that when you've not had training or experience is you don't really know. And I've had that experience as well in the beginning. But that's kind of where also redirects come from, which is what happens to you in an audition room. Sometimes most of the most of the most of the time actors are afraid of redirects in the audition room. I know I was in the beginning.
Yeah, sometimes they'll ask for a redirect simply because they want to know you can take direction. You
Exactly.
know,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
good point.
that you can take direction, that you're not just doing it one note.
Right.
Because if they ask you, okay, do this, tweak this,
Yep.
show this emotion, show that, and if you do it the same way, they're gonna like, yeah, okay,
Yep.
this, yeah, they
Yep.
can't take. Now, sometimes if what you give them is just absolutely amazing, they won't ask for a redirect. Sometimes though, if you do a great job and then they realize, yeah, just not right for this role, they'll just say thank you,
And
and
that's okay, but
you
then
never
they'll call
know.
you back. Then they'll call you back. I
They
mean, I'll
will.
throw a quick story at you just because I was like, should I say this or not? But I auditioned for Jonathan Demme, you know, rest in peace. There was a pilot that was being done. I'm sure you sent a lot of people out for that over on the East Coast. And I went in to audition for him. And I think it was Blake Masterson. They were both there, were in Atlanta. And I drove in and I went straight in after several hours, didn't take a break. And we went right into it. They had me go through 3 different roles for close to an hour. I was literally sweating and I was like, ah, and he was like, no, stop, do it. No, try this, no, try that. I was like, ah, but I kept going and going. And then I had to drive all the way home from there wondering, I was like, I don't know if I understood what he wanted in that role. So long story short, I got a call from Sharon, who used to be at PB, and she said, hey, Blake called and he said that Jonathan wanted him to call you to let you know that you did a great job and that you got the role for this particular one, but it went a few pages over in the pilot, so they cut it. And he said, if it goes to series, the role is yours. And he asked if he could give you a call. And I said, yeah, sure. I was like, yeah, right. He's going to call me. Like 10 minutes later, he called. And I was like, I've never forgotten that. And what I got out of that, I would have loved to get the role. I would have loved for it to go to series. It never did. But what I got out of that was that was the very clear understanding that I guess globally, right, for the things that we audition for, everything that you and I just spoke about is absolutely factual. You know, it is subjective,
Absolutely.
but that's why people say, well, how do I know if I'm a good actor? You'll know. You need to train. If if you keep getting called in for auditions, right, by the same casting directors, that means that they're rooting for you, which is another reason why I love Beth so much, because yeah, like I said
Amazing.
before that somebody told me once that they said the casting director is your best friend, don't be nervous. And I used to say, yeah, right. And Beth was the one that really made me believe that. And she was very instrumental in my career. Just curious, tell us a little bit about, yeah, how you feel about Beth.
Oh my gosh, Beth Sepko. I have known Beth since I first became an agent. You
Yeah.
know, Beth, forgive me for saying this, but literally I've known her over 25 years.
Oh,
Is she was doing commercials at the time, was working as a
yeah.
casting assistant, and then she really was always so amazing with actors. I knew she then became her own company.
Yeah.
She has been a workforce
Oh, for
in
Texas.
so much success for the Texas actors and the Texas agents. I cannot say enough nice things about Beth. She has been very fair to my agency, very supportive. She's open. I mean, you can email her at all hours of the day and night, and yeah, if she can, she'll
Yeah.
respond. She's very open to suggestions. Like if she didn't suggest, select a talent that was submitted, I'm like, can you rethink this? Sometimes she will, sometimes she'll say, they're just not right. She is so supportive. She loves this industry. She loves the agent. She loves the actors. She is one of my all-time favorite casting directors. And I mean, we have had a great history together. She is blunt and so honest, and I love it. She will flat tell you if
Oh,
something's not working,
yeah.
and she'll tell you what is working.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's not going to sugarcoat it, but
Yeah.
she's also not going to just slay you with
Yeah.
destruct. She is constructive always. So Beth is just on the forefront. She's been an amazing casting director, won an Emmy for Friday Night Lights,
Yeah.
as she should have, and
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
what an amazing show, and has been one of the basic, you know, big champions for the Texas film industry and beyond.
Absolutely.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, I think every agent would absolutely say that. So
Yeah.
she,
Yeah.
I call her a friend too, even though I never get to see her in person. We run into each other at different things in Austin and
Yeah.
stuff, but she is just always our champion. So.
Yeah, she's a great, great lady. So let's see. One of the other things too, I think we sort of touched on this a little bit about what you were hoping to offer the actors as well in terms of the type of advice and feedback that you can give them, because that's so important. I would have loved to have an opportunity like this where I could, you know, go in there and, like, let's say I was wanting to get representation, right? And I didn't know whether I was ready, or maybe I had, submitted and it didn't work. And it's like, what do I adjust? And you don't get responses like that. So maybe that, or even for the actors who are already, that are already signed, but just aren't moving anywhere, getting any traction with auditions or bookings or whatever, or anything else. I'd love to hear what.
Well, yeah, I think that the one thing that actors get confused about is this industry supply will always outweigh demand.
Hmm.
So, when I get a submission, we don't read talent across the table in person. I'm not putting them on stage. I want to see them in this, the monitor, the screen, the television aspect. So reading a talent across the table doesn't get anything for me. Some agents love to do that. I want to see demo reels. I like electronic submissions because I'm always on email. So if I have to stop and pull out a CD and a hard copy headshot, I don't even accept them. I toss them.
Okay.
Everything's got to be electronic. I'm going to see that all headshots, demo reels or clips. You don't even have to have a professionally edited demo reel. Just send me some clips. I mean, YouTube, 17, 20 YouTube clips, as long as it focuses on your work. I want to see a resume. It would be nice on a new actor if I got an honest, kind of a recommendation from their acting coach or a producer or someone that's worked with them. Or sometimes casting directors will reach out and say, oh my gosh, I found this gem, this just shining, rough cut, out in the middle of nowhere, and they're amazing. And that, I want to see that, because to me, acting is a God-given talent. Training brings out and enhances and makes that talent grow, because so many times we're our worst enemy with limitations. We don't know what to do to expand. It's called education. So to me, the natural actors, the last thing I hear from an actor is, oh, I don't need classes, I'm a natural. And I'm like, sweet pea, if you're a natural, you need classes, because those are the ones that should grow and should expand. This is a technical industry. You need to know every technical aspect. You need to know how to get to a point, because you haven't, I get tickled when I hear from a 22-year-old, oh, I can do any kind of emotion. I've been through everything in life. And I'm like, oh yeah, right.
At 20, right.
Whatever. And acting coaches will help you come up with emotions that you've never experienced. Even at my advanced age, there's some emotions I've not experienced. And I've experienced a lot of death in my family. Lost my husband, lost my parents, I've had some tragedies, in life, but that still doesn't prepare me for all the things that actors are faced with. You've got to know the loss of a child, maybe the winning $10 billion, losing a company. I mean, there's so many different things that we don't think about. Losing a leg, losing, almost dying, actors they think they can pretend to do that, but there's a lot more digging up of emotions and a lot of things that you as a coach can provide for them. I'm a talent agent. I'm not. Actors, I think, sometimes think, oh, well, I'm signed with Linda. Or another agent. I don't need classes now. And I'm like, excuse me. That means you're going to work 100% harder. Right. Because when you're with an agent, you don't slack at all. There is all of a sudden that rubber band is pulled as tight as it'll go.
Is a little bit of like not booking or not getting auditions or not being called in, and then if this is your thing, then you're gonna have to go. All right, it's that come to Jesus moment. All right, what do I need to change? What do I need to change?
Exactly. And what we try to do is, casting directors always tell us, please don't ask us for feedback. Please don't. But all I can tell my actors is that it gets to be cyclical. Sometimes I'll have actors that they're on there's just not much for them. And what I also have to tell them is we can only submit if there's a role in that project. There could be 50 projects come along and there's not a role in there for you. Amazingly so, because everybody assumes, oh, so and so is coming in, ABC's got a pilot coming in, make sure I'm submitted. And I'm like, I'll submit you if there's a role, but
Right.
that doesn't mean there's going to be
Yeah.
something for you.
Yeah.
And it's all based on, ethnicity, character. We
Sounds
don't
very good.
typecast in our agency at all. We don't put you in a pigeonhole. If you fit the basic aspects of that role and just the basic breakdown, you'll get submitted, unless there's something we do know that, okay, she can't do comedy, yeah, that's not going to work, after. But our job as an agent is to provide and make you more versatile, expand your opportunities, provide more abilities for you. But we do also, it just gets to be dry for some
Yeah.
actors. There
Yeah.
is nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you're not worthy. We never drop good talent for not making us enough money. We never do that. The only time I will release talent is for unethical, things, not leaving us out, like not paying commission, not keeping up with the standards that we require, keeping up with your headshots, your demo reels, not paying the agent fee is a big deal. We will drop talent for that after I've collected it, but it's very important, because a lot of actors will say, oh, well, I've got my rent to pay. And I'm like, I have 6 people on payroll, 2 rents to pay. And
Yeah.
you spent my money. That was not your money. That was my money. So a lot of that is, I don't want my good actors to ever worry that, gosh, Linda, I haven't booked anything in so long, when they're doing stellar work.
Yeah.
And who knows, there could be 500 excellent actors. They all did stellar work. They can still only book one of you.
Yeah.
So it comes down, casting can be the most horrific process, because sometimes it's down to, 5 people. And they really sometimes will say it's going to be an eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I don't know how they do it. So actors should not let that define their gift and define their worth and their meaning. And they should never let that. Who knows what it depends on. Sometimes it's just the fact that all of a sudden the family is no longer Hispanic, they're a Black family.
Exactly.
Now change it from a Black family to a white family, an Asian family, an indigenous family. Sometimes we don't know what until we see the product, and they're like, oh, that's what, okay. And then sometimes you see the person and they're like, well, that's exactly what I did in my audition. But we don't know the reasons for who they cast. And this, again, supply and demand.
Yeah, and that's where just the best that you can do is the best that you can do. So just being realistic and making sure that you are giving the best. Then
absolutely,
you can always walk around with your head held high, and then decide if you want to keep going forward.
Absolutely.
So also at the beginning, when we were first chatting, you were talking about how it was hard to get a hold of you because you've been so busy, which is a great thing. Tell me about that.
Well, we stay busy. Even during the pandemic, we had a lot of renewals, a lot of voiceover work. We've got, since I've been an agent for so long, we hear from all the casting directors. We not only submit for in my Texas office, we submit for Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. I pay to get the breakdowns in the Southeast, so we submit regularly on the Southeast side too. Because I do have an office in LA, sometimes they'll send my Texas office the LA breakdown to include my Texas actors. So that's extra fun. We hear from the Canadian casting directors. I mean, we're pretty much Nina Gold in London. I've heard from her for some of my actors that she happened to, notice on some, projects or something. So we have a broad reach. I have to say, during the pandemic, I was blessed to keep all 6 people, including myself, on full payroll during the entire pandemic. So again, it has to say something for the quality of my actors, our ability to take care of our actors. A lot of agents, were able to keep their full staff on, and it's such a blessing. So, and now that things are calming down and the vaccines are coming in, and which it's amazing. The vaccine's been going on since like November, December. So it's awesome. So millions have been vaccinated. And LA is opening up a little more. So yeah, all of a sudden things are rolling. It's it's almost back to, pre-pandemic, January 2020.
And
So
so, and
it's
so then how do, obviously that bodes well for all of us, right? The actors.
absolutely. And I do want to say something about Texas Motion Picture Alliance, because I am on the board of Texas Motion Picture Alliance. I encourage all actors, all industry professionals, please become a member of Texas
Okay.
Motion Picture Alliance. That is our trade organization. If it wasn't for TXMPA, we would not have a film incentive program.
Wow. Okay.
It is because the Texas Film Commission can't lobby for um, a legislation. They work for the governor's office.
Yeah.
So TXMPA was formed back in 2005, 2006 to become the labor organization, to work with the lobbyists, to work with the legislators, to work with, so we can be the voice of our industry, but we can't do it without, we've got
Sure.
exec producer, exec director, a communications director. They are paid because it is an ongoing job.
Yeah.
It is definitely. And then we have a full board, which has some amazing board members. So I do encourage everyone to check out txmpa.org,
Okay.
become a member. We're vital to this industry. Governor Abbott, Governor Perry, all the governors that have been in since the inception of our program, they have come to realize through our work how important our industry is, and that we're not just Hollywood coming in. We are brick and mortar. We have a large infrastructure of industry professionals in this state, and now the legislators are aware of it, how beneficial we've been even during the pandemic. So
That's fantastic. That's great. So more stuff coming to Texas, but then always,
that's
but and then the other side aspect too is that you don't necessarily have to only, I mean, most of my work was outside of outside of Texas. When I first started, I was happy to, be able to come in and work within Texas, but either way, we're consistently auditioning for the work that y'all have brought in, regardless of whether I booked it or not. And that's
right.
huge. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so there are a lot of things that are starting to kind of fall back into place, and that's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Linda, thank you so much. I don't want to take any more of your time, but if there's anything else that you want to say, otherwise, I appreciate so much your time.
Oh, this has been a pleasure. And, anyone's welcome to reach out to me. I don't mean, I never poach talent from other agents. I never approach that. But if anybody has any questions, they're welcome to email me. I was very brave and I put my cell phone and my email and everything on my website. It is out to the world.
Oh,
And you know
cool.
what? It's amazing. Most people do not abuse that. They're very respectful. And I'm happy I've got an open door to answer any
What's
questions
your
that
website
anyone
address?
may.
If anybody wants to reach out to you or just take a look at the agency, what's the
I
website address?
Oh, the website is lmtalent.com or lindamcallistertalent.com. But since McAllister is kind of a strange way, yeah, it gets misspelled a lot. So lmtalent.com is the best way to reach.
Okay.
It's under the same,
Yeah.
yeah, Linda McAllister Talent or LM Talent.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing you, giving you a great big hug.
Yes,
Good enough.
big hug to you too.
All
Oh,
right,
big
bye.
hug to you. Thank you, Crystal. I appreciate it.